So, Steven, I think it's about that time. We got next. Let's get it. So,
Cool.
Steven, first off, welcome back. Haven't seen you in a long time. Been like 2 weeks, if that I've been having to do this. But welcome, everyone. For starters, we have two special guests today. One being my co-host, Steven, who's back. And then two being a special guest from Credmark, the co-founder himself, Momin Ahmad we have. So we really do appreciate you being here with us. So thank you so much. And with that, we just want to let you all know what we do. So a lot of people don't necessarily know or understand the premise of We Got Next. My name is Christian Hayes. I am also a partner with a company called Gem Seekers, where we try to seek to figure out and help others understand the cryptocurrency market more. But then I am the co-host of We Got Next. And with We Got Next, we are helping to bridge the gap between sports and cryptocurrency. And with that being said, a lot of people start to see and notice there's different sponsorships that are out there, for example, FTX and then crypto.com, to name a few. Then you also start to see other cryptocurrency companies that are getting in with different NBA teams. Or you notice that Chamath Palihapitiya from the Golden State Warriors is a big advocate in the space of cryptocurrency. And then not too long ago today, Spike Lee, a very famous, well-known individual who's also a director of movies, but a huge fan of the New York Knicks, was talking about Bitcoin being the future. So that's just a few of different people and ways that it can be integrated. Steven, who are you for people?
Who am I for people?
Yes, sir.
What do you mean? Like, who am I?
Who are you? Yes.
I'm just your average run-of-the-mill middle-aged guy. Yeah, I guess early-age guy. Got two kids. Originally from Central PA. Went to Penn State. Christian, you didn't mention you went to ODU, Old Dominion University. Shout out to Old Dominion.
Shout out.
One thing you'll notice about us when we do the podcast, we're usually wearing something sports related for our school or just sports in general. Or Christian will be wearing his Shift Movement merchandise, which hopefully you can find soon on the interwebs. Hopefully we'll have a store for all you folks to go buy some of that Shift Movement stuff. But yeah, we're just two average guys doing a podcast, talking about crypto, talking about sports. Well, Christian's talking about crypto. I'm just kind of listening and chiming in when need be. But we always appreciate the views. We always appreciate the support, whether it's on Twitter, YouTube, Instagram. Always people showing us love and keep giving us that support. Click the like button and the subscribe button on YouTube. Help us out. And you want to talk about those the giveaways we got?
Yeah, so we do have two giveaways going on for everyone. So once we hit 100 subscribers and then we get 100 likes on any video, I will be giving away $100 in Bitcoin. And then we have a cryptocurrency segment. So if anyone thinks that they have a creative idea or way to end up implementing this or a good name, we are giving away $25 in Bitcoin to whoever comes up with the most creative name. So with that, we want to dive right into the sports aspect of our podcast. And we're going to start with Joe Rogan. So the reason why he brought this up, and I was talking to Steven beforehand, it's not because of Joe Rogan's show or anything. If anyone watched UFC, he legit just sat on the ground with Conor McGregor as if Conor McGregor was perfectly fine. Nothing was wrong with him, just having an interview with him. And Steven, what were your thoughts on that? Because I honestly thought that was one of the funniest things. You would have never thought anything was wrong with Conor. We'll get into what Conor was saying or what we did not hear him say. But what are your thoughts?
So I was at a bachelor party this weekend, which is why I wasn't here for our last show on Thursday. But we didn't get to see the fight. We didn't see everything until the next day. And at first, I didn't know what happened to Conor. I didn't know that he broke his leg.
Yeah.
Well, I thought he just got knocked out or something. And then you see all the videos of Joe Rogan interviewing him. McGregor's posted up on the cage, sitting down. His leg's broken. They're checking out his leg to make sure everything's good and it's just a break, and they're trying to get everything stabilized for him. And then Joe Rogan just pops down, just sits down next to him like this, and just starts interviewing him after he lost.
Yeah.
Like he lost. Like he didn't win. He got his leg broken. So it was kind of strange. I mean, it was very, very Joe Rogan like. You know, I think all the UFC people know that he's just like, you know, just gonna interview whoever, whenever. Usually the people are staying in the middle of the ring. And I don't know if he interviewed McGregor because it was McGregor and he lost, I don't know if he would have done that for anybody else who's sitting on the ground, but it was very unique, I guess. But very Joe Rogan like, and very very just in the moment type of thing. So good for Joe Rogan for not holding back on anything. You know,
No.
people have their opinions about him, but good for him for just being Joe Rogan, I guess.
So speaking of opinions, I'm glad you brought that up. I want to talk about another opinionated individual in Stephen A. Smith. And Stephen and I were talking earlier today, and I want to know your thoughts. For everyone that doesn't know what we're talking about, Stephen A. Smith was on air today. They were basically talking about Ohtani from the Angels. What are his thoughts on the face? So what were your thoughts on what Stephen A. Smith said about Ohtani can't necessarily be the face of the MLB?
So basically, to recap, without quoting Stephen A., he basically said that because Shohei Ohtani doesn't speak English and needs a translator, he essentially couldn't be the face of, or shouldn't be too, the face of Major League Baseball. I don't even know where he was going with it, but I think it's like just the wrong path to go down. If you're Stephen A. Just a wrong path to go down. I don't think it matters, and this is a whole different subject, but I don't think it matters that he doesn't speak English. I hope he wins the home run derby tonight and doesn't use a translator when he does his game-winning interview. They give him the trophy and everything. I hope he doesn't use a translator. I hope he just talks. He doesn't. Sports, you don't need a voice, because you don't need to be able to speak English to hit absolute bombs like he does. You don't need to be able to speak English to throw 100 miles an hour. And he leads the majors in homers. If anything, it's good that he's the face of baseball, at least for this season. I know there's Tatis and Acuna, who Tatis just got hurt, right? Or was it Acuna? I think it was Acuna just got hurt towards ACL. So prayers up to him. But if anything, it's a good thing that Shohei Ohtani is the face of baseball, because he is doing both things. He's in the Derby right now. He's a starting pitcher for the American League in the All-Star game, and he's batting leadoff. And he has the global reach of not just Japan, but the entire world, basically, because baseball is one of the biggest global games. And you have someone like him who's just absolute monster at the plate. He can throw 100 miles an hour. I don't care if he can't speak English. No one should care about that. He can hit bombs. Go ahead, Mo.
And there's been plenty of Cubans who are super good at baseball, who are fine in English or whatever. Giannis in the NBA doesn't have the best.
Exactly. 100%.
Doncic, Yao Ming for a while. It's just ignorant to say that someone who doesn't speak English can't be. If you're good at the sport, if you're good, you're good. Talent.
No. And then the best part is,
no matter what.
The best part is, so Stephen A. Smith, a couple hours later, after he said that this morning, tried to clarify what he said. And he said that we, the audience, misinterpreted what he said, which obviously that's not true. And then a couple hours ago, he apologized for doing it. It's like, it took you this long to realize that what you said was wrong, even though you said it twice in a 3-hour span. You said it twice. So, I think interviews as a whole, after games, if we're talking about when players are primarily talking, I cannot remember the last time I watched or saw a baseball interview after a game. Maybe after the World Series, or if there's a rare occurrence like Derek Jeter retiring, or the whole Bonds thing and Sosa McGuire back in the day. But no one should care about post-game interviews.
No,
it's just doing stuff like this, a podcast is one thing. We don't really need post-game interviews and all that stuff. And that's kind of another thing that Stephen A. Smith was getting at. But Mo, like you said, if you can ball, you can hit, it shouldn't matter. Who cares?
So something that I will say that does matter, and not talking about that, but the different ways that cryptocurrency has been integrated. We're talking about MLB, and this is why I brought this up. Mo, what are your thoughts on the way different cryptocurrency companies are starting to sponsor and integrate themselves into the sports aspect of the world?
I mean, it's great. I think what FTX is doing is super important and has needed to happen for a while. The fact that, going forward, I guess starting next year, every time the Heat play, it's going to say FTX Stadium. You can't really undervalue that part of it. And I think Tom Brady is now an equity investor in FTX.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then past FTX, I really haven't seen much of that. I mean, I know Okung in the NFL got paid in Bitcoin, and Spencer Dinwiddie has been doing some stuff, but I mean, the FTX thing was really kind of a whoa, kind of sit back in your chair kind of.
So real quick question though, what's this is for both of you. What's going to be the easiest way, aside from players receiving salary in cryptocurrency? What's going to be the biggest way that crypto can get into the sports world? Is it going to be just the sponsorships of arenas, or how maybe the NBA has sponsors on the jerseys, or the WNBA has that a lot, or soccer has that? Is it going to be just those simple things? The arenas are probably going to be the biggest thing because it's going to be literally all over. They're going to talk about, they're going to say it all the time. When they come back to live events and whatnot, what's going to be the easiest avenues for the crypto world to get into the sports world?
I think you nailed it. The NBA jersey stuff, sponsors, just how every other brand that we use and we consume is just kind of all over the place in the sports world. It'll happen the same way. As the crypto companies acquire more capital, they got to put it somewhere, and why not spend it on advertising? Yeah. It's already happening. I think it's just a matter of time.
Sure.
This year it's FTX for Miami. Next year, someone sponsors the New York, BlockFi, which is by some metrics the fastest growing private company in the world.
Yeah,
I could see them getting a jersey sponsorship. It's just a matter of when, not if.
Yeah. The other thing, and then we can segue over, I think fan engagement will be a big thing. So if a lot of people have heard of how Juventus has their own token on the socio.com platform. And then also you have FC Barcelona has their own fan token. Then you have some different cryptocurrency companies such as Real Fever that's doing fantasy sports. And then you have Cardaya Chain, which is another one that's doing sports betting and esports. Think those different ways. They just have to make it easy for individuals to use. That's kind of the toughest thing. Cryptocurrency for everyone isn't necessarily the easiest thing to use. So if they make it an easier way for it to be used to do the fan engagement or do the sports betting, it'll make it much more efficient for different individuals. I want to segue into the NBA because I think I have two NBA fans here, and we'll talk about the Bucks and the Suns. So for starters, Mo, I want to get your thoughts on who you think is going to win in the end, and then we'll dive into game 3.
I think it's going to be Phoenix in 5. I watched last night, and it took an insane second quarter and insane second quarter from Middleton and a LeBron-esque type game from Giannis for them to win that. And even still, it seemed like Phoenix could chip away whenever they wanted, and they could get their stuff easier. So it's just Phoenix seems like a complete team. I don't really see Milwaukee. I could be wrong. Giannis could put up 40 the next 3 games, and I look stupid, but it just seems like it's Phoenix's series to lose.
So we'll dive into game 3, and then I'll let Steven give his thoughts because this is something that Steven and I differentiate on. If you watched last time, Steven was on the Bucks, and then I'm on the Suns. Well, game 3, it was 120-100. Giannis did have a monster game. The big thing that people are overlooking, and if you saw before the game, Giannis was shooting free throws. He was taking his mid-range shots, but then he was also taking free throws. He went 13 of 17 from the free throw line, which is way better than he's done in a long time. And it affects so much because a lot of times the Bucks as a whole will shoot 50 to 56% from the free throw line. And they shot much higher than that, more so because of Giannis. Giannis is going to go to the line at least 15 times almost every single game. And he just has to keep making it. With Giannis having 41, Drew had 21 points. And Chris Middleton, the streaker he is, had 18 points this game. You never know which Chris Middleton you're going to get. You just know he's going to keep shooting. Then you had the stellar dunk from Cam Johnson over PJ Tucker. Dumb crazy. and I'll get your thoughts on it in a second. CP3 at 19 points. Booker was 3 for 14, and that's not an everyday Booker. So don't expect to see 3 for 14 Devin Booker every time. I also feel as though they were getting a feel for everything because the first 2 games were in Phoenix and they moved over to Milwaukee. So that's another thing. They have to get a feel of everything. I personally think this game 4, is going to be the telltale game for multiple different reasons. One, because it'll be 3-1 or it can be 2-2. But then also at the same time, Devin Booker and then CP3 and then DeAndre Ayton probably won't play the same way that they played last game. And then, Monty Williams is going to switch up everything. But Steven, what are your thoughts?
Bucks and 6. I think Giannis is figuring it out now. I think people say he's got no bag, he's got no moves, like he just gets in the paint and that's all he does. Well, newsflash, Phoenix hasn't been able to stop that. He's averaging 34 and 14 a game, along with almost 5 assists. He's shooting like 62% from the line. He's going to keep going to the line, or 62% from the field. He's going to keep going to the free throw line, getting those numbers up. But I think he's figuring it out, and I don't think anyone on Phoenix can stop him. I
agree. I think if Ayton stays out of foul trouble, I think so. It sucks to say, but it kind of comes down to how the refs call the game. If they give him a ticky-tack foul.
Last night was an example of it going Milwaukee's way, and I think they have to. I think to your point though, if DeAndre Ayton stays out of foul trouble, I mean he can body up with him, but I think that they need to just keep going at him, like just keep going at him, and hope that he gets into foul trouble. Because if you're gonna put DeAndre Ayton on the bench, you're gonna put Jay Crowder. Shout out to my man Jay Crowder. If you're gonna put Jay Crowder on Giannis, I mean it's a wrap. But also, to Christian's point, streaky Chris Middleton.
Yeah,
I think this is one of those games where I don't want to say it's a game of Chris Middleton's life, but it's one of those games where he's got to maybe put up a 30, 35 spot because Chris Paul, being the smart player that he is, he's going to try and do what he can to limit Giannis. Like he's going to coach his guys, and Monty Williams obviously going to do the same thing. But especially even if Giannis has another 40-point game, it wouldn't hurt for Chris Middleton to toss in 25, 30 points and couple, handful of rebounds and handful of assists, and Drew Holiday, same thing. But I think Bucks and 6 now. I said Bucks and 7 to start, I think, but I'm going Bucks and 6.
My thing is, so I had Suns in 6 at first. After the first 2 games, I was like, damn, I don't know if this is going to even make it to 6. But then after seeing last night, I was like, okay, another person, I mentioned this before the series even started, Bridges and Crowder need to step up. So Bridges wasn't all there the other night, and you have to have the anchor. DeAndre Ayton can't get in foul trouble. That's a big thing. But the other thing is, I said this time and time again, don't know when it's going to happen. Booker kind of showed it before, putting up 30, but Booker's going to have a good game. Don't know when it's going to happen, but it might happen sometime.
Ever since I started talking about him playing like Kobe, he's been playing
you put that pressure on somebody. And more so, Booker was kind of just doing his own thing, flying under the radar. But now every single second they want to talk about him and Kobe or what Kobe said to him. And I'm like, Devin just has to get back to his Kentucky days, his early days in the NBA. Just go back to what you were doing. Make it like a normal game, because clearly CP3 going to make this like a normal game every single time. He's putting up the same numbers, whether it was a regular season game, preseason game, NBA Finals game. It's going to be just a regular game for him. Now, it's cool and all talking about the NBA Finals, but some people made some money yesterday. I'm talking about Italy, because if anyone paid attention to how much money these teams make, well, the countries make if they win. So overall, Italy beat England in PKs, if anybody watched it. Italy, over the whole scope of the Euros, they made over 30 million euros, which equates out to $35.7 million that the country made just for that. And I commend them, one in itself, but two, I have to acknowledge what happened with England. So I was sitting there watching it, and me being African-American, I'm like, please let these Black guys make it. Like, please just let one of them make it. All 3 of them missed. And I was like, damn, I know what's going to happen. Because before the game, they were talking about the stats of like the abuse and the racism that does happen in England and what happens to like a lot of the women when England loses, or if they lose in like the finals or something. And for you to have Rashford, Sancho, and Saka all miss, and the manager, he did accept responsibility, which I really feel he put Rashford and Sancho in a terrible situation because they really only had maybe 2-3 minutes in extra time to at least get warmed up and stuff. Saka, I wish they would have given him more time and stuff, but the two that I feel should have gotten the PKs, I don't know how he decided to do the lineup, but why the hell wasn't Sterling taking PKs for them, and why wasn't Grealish taking PKs for them? You want to put your ones that are in there. Grealish probably would have done fine. And then you have Rashford, who's now taken all this. Yeah, he guessed it correctly, having the goalie go the other way. But you can't get mad at him for that because you act like every single other Englishman out there is going to make that. Who knows? One, he's probably hyped that he guessed the right way and the goalie went the other way. But for it to end that way, and the other funny thing was, I don't know if anyone watched when they gave all the medals. When I tell you, every single person on England was not, hell no, we are not having this. They put it on, take it right back off right after they got it. And I was like, you could tell they were so pissed. They did win money, but you can tell. Mo, do you have thoughts? And we'll go to Steven.
Yeah, I didn't, like I said, I didn't really watch the game. I was sort of just watching it on my phone. And only today did I realize what had happened with the three players who missed it, all being black. So, I mean, I think it's an issue that I've seen in soccer. I know like France had some issues with that because they do have a lot of players who are also black and had issues with racism in the past. I don't know what else to say besides it sucks. You know, It's not fair, and it's an unfortunate. It's something that I'm proud of that in America. I mean, it still happens, but I feel like it's much worse in some other countries. So yeah, I don't have too much to say besides that. Yeah, it sucks.
Yeah, if you think about in America, any other sport or any sport at all, it doesn't matter if you're black or white, Asian, anything, they're just gonna hate you because you missed it. Like kicker, they're hating you. Like I remember when it was the Bears when he missed all those kicks, they hated him. Even if it's Adam Vinatieri, they'll hate him. In the NBA, it doesn't matter if it's LeBron James or it can be like Cameron Payne, whoever it is, they're just gonna be mad at you for missing it, scrutinizing it. But I don't think it would be the same if Kane for England had missed it. They're not going to get on him as much as they did with like Rashford and Sancho. They were messing up different artwork that was on walls for these players. And I'm thinking they missed this one kick because you guys have not won. You're going to get pissed at this one guy when you had all that time, over 130 minutes to try and get another goal. And then you had other people in PKs. You're not going to get mad at Pickford, but you're going to get mad at those three. So that's the thing that I more so was frustrated at, that they focus in on those three, not even Saka as much, but more so Rashford, because if it's missed, then it was Saka. But Steven, did you have any thoughts?
What do you think? Now, I just love listening to you talk about soccer now.
Yeah, it makes me so mad.
It changes the game. Yeah, I mean, it does suck. I mean, like here in the US, I mean, you have certain fan bases where, like, whatever sport it is, it's just like that's everything. And if the receiver drops it, or the quarterback throws a pick six, end the game, or kicker, God forbid, a kicker misses. I've been there. Like I've been there plenty of times as a Penn State fan, where I've hated the other team's kicker or the other team's player for hitting a game-winning shot or kicking a game-winning field goal or whatever the case may be. But like over there, yeah, you can die for that shit.
Almost die, yeah.
I've heard of, not seen it, but I've heard of players in the past getting killed. Lesser level soccer leagues, but like getting killed over an own goal, or not missing a game, or missing a game-winning goal, whatever. Like it's crazy. You can die for that shit.
Yeah.
But it's like in the US, like I honestly can never remember a time where a player has had that happen. I know that people will send letters and hate mail, and I'm sure there's hate mail that is pretty disturbing to read, but yeah, it's just a game, like at that level, it's just a game. Like there's moments where you can have 24 hours, 48 hours, whatever, to like mope around about it. But like I think what LeBron said it back in 2011, like you still got to wake up and live the same life that you live today when the game started as you do tomorrow. So yeah, it's just like, it's very, very upsetting that it happens, but I mean, they're passionate, I guess.
So we'll go into Copa real quick, and Mo and I can give our thoughts. So I'm a huge Argentina fan, just in itself. If anyone knows, I really like Argentina, and then Uruguay are my two teams that I typically like to go for. So I know a lot of people out there hate Suarez, but I don't know what it is. But Suarez and Messi just always have been my favorites growing up. But Argentina won 1-0 to Brazil, which was a big game, not only because Messi won his first kind of like national global title, but also this is their first national type of title since 1993. And it was Messi going up against Neymar, which was a really big thing because they were teammates and they are cool. So to just see that happen, and you just saw the emotion and passion on Messi afterwards, you would have thought he was a little kid in a toy store again, FaceTiming his family, the way he was just holding the trophy and everything. Mo, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, it's great. I really felt for him after the World Cup against Germany. That was just a heartbreaking way to lose.
Mm-hmm.
And it just seemed like no matter how well he played, he just never had the support. So to kind of see him like carry them through those first few rounds and then have Di Maria kind of put in that goal, it seemed fitting.
Yeah.
So yeah, nothing but joy for the guy. I'll probably be pulling for them. Well, obviously the U.S., but past the U.S., I think I'll probably be pulling for Argentina next year the World Cup, right?
Yes, sir. Next year in Qatar.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
it's gonna be hot there. But so going into a couple of other things, we have the Home Run Derby tonight, and then we have the All-Star Game, which will be Tuesday for everyone that is watching it. The starters are going to be Scherzer and Ohtani. So those are two big names. I want to talk about the MLB draft really quickly because we do have a Pirates fan over here. So they drafted Henry Davis from Louisville, catcher, but they're trying to figure out if they're going to keep him at catcher because he does have a strong arm. So they might end up doing either third base or they can do outfield with that one. But another big thing is, even though Davis did go to college, I do have to commend all the high schoolers. If you would have saw just in the top 10, the amount of high schoolers that got drafted, most of them don't go straight to the MLB, but congratulations to them in general. Steven, I think I saw you about to say something.
Yeah, I mean, the Pirates are going to trade him in 5 years anyway, so it's not going to matter. Like that's just what we do. Like anytime we have a sniff of a good player, we had Garrett Cole for 5 years and traded him. So that worked out well for everybody. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. There you go. So you're welcome. I do want to give a quick shout out to in the MLB draft. Lonnie White Jr. is a Penn State football commit for next year. Wide receiver out of Malvern Prep in the Philly area. Got drafted by the Pirates. And it's a big thing now. He's committed to Penn State to play football. He got drafted in the MLB draft coming out of high school. I think he's an outfielder. I think it is outfielder or second base, maybe. He got drafted 72nd overall. The money is still there for him. So like he has a big decision to make. He's a class of 2022. So he has until I think early spring to kind of make that decision. But shout out to him. Shout out to Penn State football for bringing in Bo Jackson. That'd be great. And shout out to the Pirates for just making moves all around, and good for them. But we'll trade everyone we draft. We'll trade them. Don't worry, it's fine. Yeah.
So we appreciate you all sitting through the sports side. Something else that's near and dear we're about to get into. Myself, I'm huge into like the finance and accounting aspects. So this conversation we're about to have is something that hits towards me because I can end up learning a lot, but I think everyone else can. The person we have today is the co-founder and CSO of Credmark. He was formerly an engineer at SailPoint, and he graduated from the University of Texas at Austin. We have Momin Ahmad with us today.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
I appreciate you coming on, and just thank you for just the conversation. He's a genuine individual too. And I just want to start by saying, who are you and what do you do for Credmark?
Who am I? Wow. It's a deep question off of that. I'm a guy that I think I find a few specific things that I'm really passionate about, and I pursue those as hard and as fast as I possibly can. Crypto is one of those things. Sports are one of those things, and then music is one of those things. So I feel like those three sort of spheres dominate my life. And for Credmark, I initially actually started the company with a friend of mine who I met playing music in a band here in Austin. And I kind of knew about crypto because I lost a bunch of money on Bitcoin in 2018, like everybody else in the world.
Yeah.
And I was just kind of confused by it and was just like, what's going on? And this perfect opportunity, this guy in this band I was playing and was like, hey, I'm starting a crypto company. Why don't you hop on? So it was kind of right place, right time. And it's just one of those serendipitous things where it's like you have an inkling and an interest in something and you kind of want to be at the forefront of an industry, and then the opportunity just falls in your lap. And what do they say? Luck is the cross section of opportunity and preparation or whatever. So it's felt like that. I feel like that sort of statement has played out quite a few times for me.
That's big. So that's important. Something that Steven and I can relate to the same way. You were founding a company with a friend. Steven and I used to work together. That's how we became friends. And then we started this podcast. So we do understand the value of that trust and the bond that you can have to create something, because it goes a lot farther than just starting something with a random person. And just going into that, and I ask this to everybody, when did you first get involved in cryptocurrency, and what was your first cryptocurrency you got?
Yeah. So like I was saying, it was I'll never forget it. I was in a van. I used to be a tour manager for a band, and we were in the van, and like the drummer was talking about this Ethereum he just bought. Obviously I'd heard about Bitcoin for a while, but it was always something that like your friends in high school would be using to like buy weed or whatever. I don't know if I can say that.
No, but you're fine. Everybody.
I knew about Bitcoin. I was like, that's a scam. And Ethereum, I was like, oh, that sounds pretty cool. And then I think I just on a whim, I saw everything going up. I was just like, I'll buy some. I bought it, and then it went down, and I was like, well, that sucked. But honestly, it was as simple as that. I think I got into it in the same way that a lot of people did, because I think crypto really sort of became a mainstream topic in 2017, 2018. The difference is when it went down, instead of dismissing it, I got like kind of angry. I was like, why did it go down? Like, why? I feel like I got used, or like I was had, or I was marked or something. And I was like, man, I can't let that happen again. So I just kind of kept my eye on it. And then, in the summer of 2018, just randomly enough, this guy I played in the band with was like, hey, I got a angel investment from this incubator in Hong Kong. So I'm going to Hong Kong. And I did not know how to code, didn't know how to do anything, like didn't know any finance stuff at all. I was just like, hey, can I come with you? And like, will you hire me? And he was like, sure. Which that was a very poor decision on his part. But I think it worked out for all of us. So that was kind of the genesis of Credmark, middle of 2018. Yeah.
I do want to ask one quick question, and I usually ask this question at the end, but
Steven's signature question.
Yeah, this is my signature question for everybody. So obviously now, this like you described your crypto journey exactly how you can ask Christian exactly how I would describe mine. I haven't bought anything yet, but like, you just kind of like you just hear about it. And I think everyone knows the word Bitcoin, but they don't know what the hell it means. Like they just see it on TV. They just talking like, their high school friends, whatever the case may be. And obviously crypto's been around for a while. Christian, you said 2009 was kind of when things started really coming around. Mo, why do you think like right now and over the last like 4 years, probably, it's become so much more mainstream? Is it just because all like the media outlets are really trying to like, give it a lot of steam? Is it just like the social media presence? Is it just like, it's like just becoming a bigger thing? Like why now? Or like why, like you said, over the last 3 or 4 years, is it really starting to become mainstream and more of a talking point amongst like just people like us as regular people?
So I can give you, I don't know like the larger reason, but I can give you a very like specific technical reason as to why this might have happened.
Go for it.
Specifically, in 2017, at that point, I think Ethereum had been around for enough time to where developers could take advantage of the fact that you can actually program code on the blockchain. And what that allowed them to do was launch their own tokens on Ethereum itself, right? So around 2018 or earlier in 2018, you had like MakerDAO and then a bunch of other companies do these ICOs. So essentially launch their own token, and people could essentially buy into these companies by buying a token. And it was way easier. It was much easier to participate than, say, the New York Stock Exchange. It wasn't geo-fenced to like a particular region. It was a worldwide thing. So that was like the first instance of people finally leveraging the technology for something that could all of a sudden explode like worldwide or whatever. Recently, like this past year, the reason it's taken off is because of COVID. You have a worldwide event that essentially shuts down the economy, and most governments, like particularly America's response to that is to make money really cheap to borrow. And in the US's case, made it like free to borrow. So that signals to financial firms two things. One, we're about to have crazy inflation at some point. And two, we got to put all this, we can borrow all this cash, we got to put it somewhere. And Bitcoin and crypto at large is like the perfect place to essentially park a bunch of money to make sure it appreciates in value at like, outpacing inflation. And because you can borrow for essentially free, you can do some pretty like highly leveraged sort of directional, like long positions on all these assets. So maybe not the most interesting answer, but like that is, from all the people I've talked to, kind of what sparked in both 2017 and then now. Like, to my mind, that is why we've seen huge spikes in like mainstream sort of adoption in those time periods. Yeah.
That's a great answer. And Christian, you can attest to this as well. I asked that question to everybody. I think we've had 4 people for interviews.
Yeah. That's what I appreciate. You get a different sense from each individual.
We get a completely different, lengthy answer from everybody. And I think like after we do so many of these and we get so many different ones, I want to chop it all up and just like put it as like, what everyone's opinion is on why it's so big right now. Yeah. So I appreciate the detailed answer. That's a great answer. I mean, like I said, everyone's giving different answers on different reasons why, and like it's probably all true. So I appreciate and I respect your answer. So thanks.
Yeah. So going into that, what's crazy is I'm glad that Mo just brought this up, because what you being able to borrow money essentially for free, you have people like Michael Saylor, who's now taking out loans and stuff and saying, let me just put it in a Bitcoin. Or you have other big time, well-known people, billionaires and millionaires, that are just taking out loans and stuff and say, why don't I just put it in a Bitcoin? And you start to see more people do that and understand it. And I think it starts to go into like the lending, and people start to understand and learn about the lending aspect of like, oh, so this fiat currency that we have, it's not the same value as Bitcoin and all these others, whereas that value will appreciate, whereas the value of the dollar or even the peso or any Venezuelan currency that they ever decide to make in the history is always going to like depreciate over time. So I do think that is a big reason. My next thing is, because we talked about Bitcoin and Ethereum, what is Credmark? And explain it so people can understand it.
So Credmark is a decentralized risk modeling platform. So what that means is that we provide developers, data scientists, financial modelers, the tools and the data they need to build risk models that will provide data that gives people better information to make investment decisions with. currently specifically right now for DeFi, which is decentralized finance, is essentially, as of right now, mainly just Ethereum. But really just stands for like totally permissionless, totally decentralized financial products.
So going into that, because that's something I do appreciate, and something else that a lot of people probably have questions on, are what does it mean when you all say community driven?
Right. So because DeFi specifically doesn't have a regulatory body, there's the only way to enforce a standard or enforce like any kind of generalized or like accepted practices is to make sure the community buys in, right? It operates much like a co-op. If people who went to college and maybe hung out at co-ops, there's no one governing body. It is how does this group decide to enact certain policies to make life better at the co-op? So in DeFi, that means like, for data for example, like how do we structure data so that we can build the best tools? Well, there's no government, there's no centralized authority to say it's going to be this way. It has to be a community driven and community bought in like proposal or sort of a community driven thesis that drives that sort of policy making. So we're trying to leverage that by building a platform that lets the community develop tools and vote on tools and provide information so that the community can benefit from it.
That's what I do appreciate, and something that a lot of people start to understand in the cryptocurrency world. We're giving the power back to the people instead of it being with the middleman or the central individual. The people get to determine a lot of it and get to make up a lot of the rules. If you look in, not necessarily America, everyone in America doesn't see it, but in other countries, this is a huge and important thing in terms of making sure that the community has a say. And sometimes you'll have a dictator, or sometimes you'll have a high person, the queen or the king, that oversee everything and dictate every single rule. So it's a good thing when the community or the people are able to make and have a say in certain things. My next thing for you is, why would you say Credmark is needed?
Well, in DeFi in particular, you don't really have the same sort of information that you wouldn't find in traditional markets. So like if you're looking at like an index fund to invest in, or you're looking at a portfolio that your money manager at your bank is like, oh, this is a good place to park your money for the next 10 years. You can ask for like I don't know what the actual term is, but essentially the performance of that fund over the last 10, 20 years, right? And they can show you all these markers and indicators and say, well, the companies we've invested in are, infrastructure or minerals or whatever, like they're core components of the world economy. So like you can trust that their lights are going to stay on. And like, as a result, their cash flow means that these funds are going to do great. You like real tangible things and like historical data that backs your decision when you're making these investments. In crypto, none of that exists. Literally the only reason people do anything in crypto is speculative, which, it's sometimes people don't want to hear that, but that's the case. Like every single product ever created in crypto was designed for people to essentially gain more leverage to go long or short, mostly long, on these assets. As a result, you have a very different risk profile, and you have also like blockchain native risks that will affect your investments. And as a result, you got to have a very specific kind of risk tools to help people make better decisions. It's a very long-winded way of saying that you need to provide people the same sort of tools and the same comfort that they have in traditional finance. Well, one, you're never going to get there, but to even approach that, you need to consider, like I mentioned, blockchain specific risks, and also try your best to provide people the same data they're used to in traditional finance. So for example, in DeFi, there are a lot of products that will promise you 150,000% APY, which is, I was Olympus DAO like 2 months ago. Which is insane, right?
Wild.
And not wrong, but also not true. But how does the normal person, like my roommate or my friends who have crypto but aren't maybe as versed in it as I am, what do they do with that information, right?
Mm-hmm.
They're probably going to stay away from it because it scares them. It seems too good to be true, and it is too good to be true. Mm-hmm. So you got to provide them with a risk model that says, okay, well, at this point in time, if everything stayed true for the next year, yes, you would make 150,000% APY. But let's project how this platform is going to slowly mature over the next 6 to 8 months. And given the current growth trends, it's probably going to reduce to like a whatever percentage APY. And essentially give them the insights that we have about blockchain and crypto to let them make a better investment decision. I don't know if any of that made sense, but that's that's kind of the world we're operating in.
Yeah. So what Mo just said, I can honestly second what he was just reiterating to everyone, because you start to notice if you even go on any of these, you can go on Binance, you can go on any of these other DeFi platforms, and it'll start off at 5,000% or 1,000%. And you think, oh, wow, let me do the math on my phone real quick. I'm about to make this in a week or a month. But you don't realize that sometimes you have to lock it in there, put it in there. And then that's sometimes when rug pulls happen. If you notice with the Mark Cuban thing, or then you have them where to start with 5,000%, but then in a week or 2 weeks, it's down to 500 or 100%. So it's not a fix through the whole time necessarily at that APY. Some are, but you kind of have to find them, whereas it'll start to become a decreasing one. And that's something I do appreciate, because a lot of times these companies don't necessarily have the tools yet or don't have the knowledge fully in cryptocurrency or DeFi. So it does seem like you all have found an untapped market. How would you say the demand has been for Credmark?
The demand is definitely high. I mean, we raised, I don't know, there's a CoinDesk article that talks about it. We raised $5.5 million as a company that was pre-product, which is a pretty substantial amount in traditional sort of like startup world. So if people really understand and really appreciate what we're offering, and they really understand that the way we're doing it by leveraging our community is the most effective way to deliver this data. The demand, I mean, we're launching our first product a week from today. So Monday, July 19th, we're launching a Uniswap, which is a decentralized exchange on a DeFi decentralized exchange, a Uniswap portfolio management tool that'll essentially offer a lot of the same information that we were just talking about. Right now, you have this very confusing and complicated liquidity providing sort of interface that is Uniswap, and we are trying to provide a skin on top of that offers you some insights regarding your risk profile, as well as like what you can expect to make. So we will see. I think the demand is high, but I also think that people are wary of new stuff, and that I think it's going to take us showing that what we built actually works to truly get the demand that I think we could have down the line.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely with that. And I do like that you are doing this through Uniswap, because for all that don't know, if you go on the interface, it's totally different than your Binance or your Coinbase or your KuCoin, where those are a little bit easier, but they're also centralized exchanges. And if you go on Uniswap, not your everyday person is going to understand it or figure out everything. Even if you want to calculate what it is in your native currency, you kind of have to do a couple of different things into figuring that out. So I do like what you all are doing. Now, can you take some time to talk about your model contributors and your risk assessment models that you all are working on?
Sure. So, for the model contributing side, right now it is our own data scientists supplying these models. We're trying to bootstrap this platform. I expect that September, October, November is when we'll actually have a data ETL pipeline available for outside developers to contribute on. But for now, it is our in-house developers, as well as some folks from the University of Texas who we're going to bring in to do some like competing models. And as far as like the risk assessment, every platform on DeFi has its own inherent set of risks, right? Borrowing or lending on Compound or OV is one thing. Staking, putting your money in a yield aggregator like Yearn or Idle is another set of risks. Putting your money in Uniswap presents its own specific set of risks, the biggest of which is something called impermanent loss, which I really don't want to explain.
No.
It's really complicated.
Yeah.
But essentially, you put your money in Uniswap with the hopes that as people trade, you earn fees, much like an exchange takes a fee every time someone buys or sells a stock. The community is supplying the liquidity for this exchange, and as a result, the community receives rewards. But due to the way Uniswap works, if you see a big price swing, you could lose a lot of money, or you could not make as much money as you could, which in many people's minds is the same thing as losing money. So the tool we are providing takes into account the historic volatility of certain prices, outlier events, and also includes your own risk tolerance. Are you a risky person? Are you a risk averse person? And given that decision, we are going to suggest how you should set up your liquidity pool. And so that is the basic premise of how we want to build all of our tools going forward, is not just give you all the answers, but take your input and then provide you an answer using all the work that we've done. So you don't have to necessarily have a math PhD to figure out how to make money in DeFi.
Yeah, so thank you for that. Another thing, if you all ever have the time, check out their website. They have legit geniuses. If you look at the team, the founders, and the brains behind it, they are legit. It's not just a team that was thrown together. I started looking at some of the resumes of the different people on the team and just seeing their background. They know what they're talking about. And we've talked a lot about Credmark, but can you talk a little bit about the CMK token and what the use of it will be?
Sure. Yeah. So the CMK token is mainly designed to avoid like model spamming, right? So without the token, anyone could come in and just like spam our platform with like BS models that just take up space, take up computing power, jack up our cloud bill, like all that good stuff. So what we're saying is, okay, the CMK token, you got to have it, you got to stake it in order to contribute a model. Depending on how that model does, you will receive CMK as a reward. And then in order to vote, and by voting, I mean like we're giving our token holders the ability to dictate how this platform moves forward. So that's where the idea of community comes in, right? People who hold our token are going to be like, okay, Uniswap thing was great, but for the next thing we want is like a yield aggregation sort of risk assessor. Like, should I do idle finance or urine finance? Or maybe they suggest that we want to do like a curve stablecoin risk model. So in order to vote, you have to have CMK and you have to stake it. So it kind of functions on every level of the platform in terms of like model contributors needed to contribute models. The voters who vote in governance need it to make votes and pass different proposals. And then as these models are consumed and as fees are accrued, we use that to buy back CMK from the market and pay out our developers whose models are being used.
Thank you. Yeah, so that's something I do appreciate and I always want to understand is the use case behind different cryptocurrency tokens and coins. Because Steven, something you'll start to realize is some coins, there is no use case behind it. It's kind of like, yeah, it's just here. And then people start to question that. So I always appreciate hearing what the legit use case is, but then it also develops trust within the community of, all right, this is something I either want to dive deeper into or invest into. Now, something else that triggered me and also sparked me was I saw one of your advisors and I saw the name Coinbase. And although you have a lot of good advisors, that's just the first one I did see. And then of course the article that you mentioned, but can you take some time to explain how the advisors will help you all going forward with the company?
I mean, they each serve their own kind of unique strength. We have a lot of advisors who aren't on the website yet who will add. One fellow worked at Bancor for a while. One fellow, I think Heike, the API3 founder, is on there too. And they each they have their own sort of unique expertise on a variety of things. The guy from Coinbase, he actually worked for I think Neutrino or China, I can't remember. It's embarrassing that I don't remember which one. Essentially a crypto security company that was acquired by Coinbase so they could, beef up their security. And so he is an expert in regards to like anti-money laundering, KYC aspect of the crypto industry, right? We have Blair Worrell, who used to work at Moody's. So he understands, like, from the traditional finance world, credit ratings, credit risk, what it really means to do due diligence on somebody. And I mean, the list goes on. So I would say they each have their own unique insights that, over whether it's been in the past, currently in the present, or in the future, will be very, very useful to us and very helpful to us going forward.
Thank you. So you mentioned API 3, and that was going to be the next thing I asked you. So how does that partnership with API 3 help you all moving forward, and what are some of the benefits of working with them?
I mean, so we were in an incubator with the API 3 guys, and so I sat next to Heike and Barak for 3 months and just saw that how well they knew this industry. I mean, Barak is a genius engineer, and I mean, if you read any of his material that he publishes, it's very obvious that the guy gets it. He gets Solidity, he gets Ethereum. It's all there for him. And API 3, those guys were actually working with Chainlink for a while as a company called Honeycomb. They were like a layer on top of Chainlink. And so when they were like, hey, we can do this better than Chainlink, and these are the reasons we can do it better, and we know what these reasons are because we worked in Chainlink for a long time, you tend to believe those guys. And their whole concept of letting API providers run their own nodes and be like self-custodying of that really plays into the whole decentralized nature of things. Whereas Chainlink operates from more of like I guess they kind of control their own sort of oracles. And that's not to disparage Chainlink. I think Chainlink is clearly the king right now, but in any healthy ecosystem, you need competition. You can't have a monopoly.
Absolutely.
And Chainlink's already established. API 3 is trying to make moves, and so are we. And we know those guys really well, so that partnership made sense. They have a really unique insurance mechanism as far as ensuring the integrity of the data they're providing. And I mean, one of the big taglines on all of our company stuff is high integrity DeFi data and risk modeling. Yes. So the idea of being able to back that up by saying, yeah, any data we provide you is going to be insured via API 3's insurance pool, which we will pay into as a company that runs their own air node, it just seems to make perfect sense. So it really, in all regards, it's a perfect fit for us. And they've been tremendously helpful, and we're excited to be one of the first companies to run one of their nodes when those are ready.
Thank you. Yeah, so that's something I always notice when I see API 3, since the team over there is doing so well, when I start to see either partnerships or different things that they're doing, it kind of just opens my eyes of, all right, let's dive deeper into this company. So I do appreciate that. And we've been talking a lot about decentralized and DeFi things. Would you ever move into like centralized institutions, helping them out?
Yeah. So, I mean, before this recent sort of raise and kind of product release, I was the author of the Crypto Credit Report, which was a comprehensive sort of industry-wide report where I spoke with every centralized crypto lending company in the world, got some data from them, and then did some basic rudimentary analysis on it. So all that is to say that we have good close ties with the folks at Celsius, Genesis, BlockFi, Nexo. Beyond that, we have advisors who work for hedge funds. I'm personally close with quite a few hedge fund managers who are interested in what we're doing, either from the data side or the risk modeling side. So there's definitely a lot of interest. I think what we're doing is informed a lot by how centralized institutions operate. We're essentially saying, how do we take the tools they have in their world and provide them to people in DeFi? So naturally, there's a lot of interest from a lot of these centralized players.
Thank you. So the next question, the community and everyone would kill me if I didn't ask this, but do you have any plans for any future exchange listings?
Yeah, of course. I think it's a timing thing. It's making sure that we have backed up our talk with some walk. So personally, I am more focused on us delivering data-driven research, data-driven storytelling, data-intensive results, products that use data. You can see I'm talking about data a lot.
Yep.
I've been really focused on leveraging all the data we have available to us and making and showing sort of the DeFi community that we know what we're doing with that data. And all that stuff will follow. It's like a band, you write good songs, that's all that matters. People will figure it out, and you'll figure it out. So when the time is right, it'll happen, and is how I kind of look at it.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
the time will be right when we have kick-ass products. So
yep. Yeah, that's a big thing. And something in cryptocurrency, a lot of people, they only care about the price going up, but I've seen from a lot of different companies, they appreciate how the market is right now because they can continue building their products so that when the market continues to move up or whatever the market does, they can provide some sort of product to everyone. A lot of times, like Mo said, it's a lot of speculation. So you want to be able to back it up with having a product, and a working product is the other thing. Some people have a half-assed product, but you want to make sure you have 100% quality rollout with your company and the product. So my next thing for you, because this is probably one of the first things Mo and I did talk about even before we confirmed everything with the conversation, was sports. So do you have a favorite sports team or even a sport?
Basketball is by far my favorite sport. I would give up everything to be an NBA player. I don't care how high our token goes, I could be in a band that is world famous. I don't care. I would give away all that to be like the eighth man on a decent NBA team. So yeah, I'm into every sport. Basketball, football, soccer, a little baseball, and I kind of keep tabs on the rest of it. But basketball is definitely my sport.
I got a question. No, go ahead.
I was gonna say I don't really have a team. I grew up being a Lakers fan because I was a huge Kobe Bryant fan. I grew up in Houston, so the Rockets were always kind of important, but also very heartbreaking at the same time.
Yep.
And now being in Austin, and just I'm just that dude who follows LeBron, whichever team he goes to. So yeah.
Sounds familiar. Yeah. Sounds like Steven.
that's your boy over here. My question was, usually at the beginning of each show, we'll show like a quick video. We call it the fast break. And we're going to show this video of DK Metcalf. I can't remember what exactly, it was something he did in the gym or in the lab where he's created at. So it was just like something, he did some like, I think it was a box jump maybe, Christian?
So it was a box jump. I'm pretty sure it was like 48, inches or something like, it was something high. And it was with one leg, and he had a 15-pound bag in his hand. So he jumped it with one leg, got up there, and then came back down.
Like just stupid shit like that you see these guys doing all the time. But my question was off of that was going to be, do you remember the best athlete that you've seen in person? Not just basketball, but just in general, best athlete.
Yeah.
I know you went to Texas, and you guys had some. Christian told me with the years you were there, you guys had some good athletes then, but. If you can remember the best athlete you've seen, Christian, this goes to you too, the best athlete that you guys have seen in person. Not to put everybody on the spot here, but you can name a couple.
In person, I saw Kobe play in 2003. I don't really remember. I saw him play. I don't remember much of it except just being like, holy shit, I'm watching Kobe Bryant play. And I wasn't really aware of like how much more athletic they were than me. But one guy I will say that I just noticed was different was Andre Johnson back in his prime. We had, my family was one of the, we had tickets since the Texans existed, and we would sit like right behind the Texans bench. So anytime offense was at like midfield or so, and Andre would line up on the left, the dude was just getting open all the time.
Every time.
All the time. And it was just like, I was like, I think 12, 13 years old when this was happening. I was just like, why are they covering this guy? How is he always open? So that's not the most athletic thing, but it was just like a thing where it's like, oh, this guy's different. Like, he's not like everybody else.
Yeah. They're crazy athletes. Christian, what about you?
So you asked me this earlier today, and I had to write it down. I was thinking about different ones because we have this conversation from time to time, and I got to go to a Chicago Bulls game. I remember Barack Obama was at the game. It was the Bulls against the Wizards, and I got to see Derrick Rose. That was a big time when he was good and he didn't have the injuries. But then the other one, because, my dad used to take me to random games when it was the Redskins. So we went to go see the Washington Redskins, and now known as the football team, against the Philadelphia Eagles, because we just so happened to get tickets to the Eagles game. Sometimes it'll be the Raiders, Giants, whomever. But I think seeing Michael Vick when he threw that 82-yard touchdown pass to Deshaun Jackson.
Yeah,
and
damn.
At that time, I was like, what the hell just happened? And I was up in more so the nosebleed. So I saw like this older man had one of those radio satellite type TVs, and you're seeing it on the field. And you're like, damn, that shit really just happened. Like that was wild. But the one, I wouldn't go in the athletic, but he is really athletic, but he's big as hell. I want my friend to go see the Redskins against the Raiders. And when I tell you I saw Khalil Mack, that is a big dude too.
Yeah. He's a beast. That's crazy.
So who would you say? Because I know, Steven, between your Penn State years and then your years probably on the other sports you watch too.
I would say I saw LeBron play the year the Cavs won the title. They played the Wizards. Wow. That was just more like knowing the game, like knowing the sport and like understanding like the X's and O's of things. I think just like seeing his ability to like just do everything better than everybody else was just wild. I think at 34 and 10, something like that. And it's crazy because like when you're watching on TV, they say they keep tallying everyone's points. Like as they score, oh, he's got 25, oh, he's got 26. But like you don't, at the game, you're not really paying attention to that kind of stuff because there's so many other things going on within the game. And look at the end of the day, he had like 34 and 10, I think it was. Saquon Barkley, his junior year at Penn State was pretty. That was pretty wild to see because he's 5'11", but he's like 235, and he's just he's so much faster in person than you think. But I saw, so my roommate in college played for the Seahawks, and I got to go see him play the year they won the Super Bowl. They played the Redskins in DC.
Who's your friend?
Jordan Hill. He's a defensive tackle.
They
had Percy Harvin. It was the year they won the Super Bowl, and
stupid fast.
Like
speed is different.
Like Saquon is fast. Like I've seen a bunch of guys come through Penn State, and other teams play, but he had 3 touchdowns and 2 of them got called back, and like straight line speed. Like Lamar Jackson, I saw him play last year. His straight line speed is just different. Yeah. But when those type of guys get to the edge, and then they plant and just go, there's like just a different level of, and we were pretty close too. We were about like 10 or 15 rows back behind the end zone. So we had a good angle of him coming at us. And you think someone has an angle at him, you think someone's gonna be able to catch him, and they're just not. And it's just a different, like Mo, like you said, I would give up. I have 2 kids, married. I wouldn't go so far I wouldn't go so far to say I'd give up my wife and kids, but I might give up some members of my family to be in the league for just a quarter, just like a 4-down possession. I don't care what it is, just a play, just like go deep and just have the speed to do so. But Percy Harvin was just a different athlete than everybody else.
So I have one more question for you, Mo, but I want to touch on what you said, Steven, about Percy Harvin. So a lot of people that know, I grew up in New York and then I moved to Virginia. So I went to a school called Hilton High School, and we were very good at football. And I used to talk to a lot of the old heads that would come through there as security guards, and they're like, yeah, Chris, like back in the day, we used to be really good at football. We were in the state championship game, but we always lost to this one player. Steven, that one player was Percy Harvin. They said he would just run straight down the field, and it was something you couldn't stop. Because in high school, you're not just playing one position. That man could be anything: kick returner, punt returner, quarterback, running back, wide receiver. It doesn't matter. He's going to blow by you wherever you are. So that was the big thing. And they didn't know fully who Percy Harvin was. They just said, yeah, Percy would just blow by us, and we just never understood. So that was one of the things I always just think about. But my other question for you, Mo, that I had is, we ask everybody this: if you could have dinner with 4 people in present day or in the past, who would it be?
Yeah, so I put down Mark Twain.
Okay. Wow. Okay.
I know.
That's good.
Jimi Hendrix, LeBron James, obviously. And the last one, man, I was trying to think. I was trying to go like in the way back machine and figure out who I'd want to talk to. I think I'd have to settle on one of the popes during the Crusade. I don't know who, but one of those Crusades, the Pope who was in charge. Like, what the hell's going through your head, man?
Yeah, I know.
I love this question because
we've gotten so many different answers. We got Jesus one.
So many,
and now
we
got
got Jesus. Yeah. Also, I said LeBron, so shout out to LeBron here.
I know. So with that being said, Mo, we do appreciate you being on here. How can people stay in contact with either you or just the team in general?
So I communicate a lot on Twitter. That's where I just published a like in-depth sort of data analysis of Uniswap today. That's kind of a lead up to our products coming out, and I plan on doing a lot of like research-based sort of explorations on Twitter. So that's me personally is Mostars93. Our company handle is Credmark HQ. And then from that Twitter page or from our website, credmark.com, you can find us on Discord and Telegram. And that's where we have a really active community. Any updates or just general chatter, that's where that'll happen.
Perfect. Thank you. Steven, you got anything else for the people?
Juan Soto just knocked out Shohei Ohtani in the home run derby.
No way.
Damn.
Yeah, first round. They had to do 2 different swing offs because they were tied.
Wow.
Juan Soto hit 31. I think Ohtani hit 28 or something like that. So, but he was hitting some bombs though. But it sucks that he's not going to win.
I was going to go with Gallo or Trevor Story just because it was the hometown kid in that situation.
Yeah, and shout out again to the Pirates, and you're welcome to every team who we're going to trade our best players to, so you can win a World Series or have, amazing players. So yeah, shout out to the Pirates.
Mo, you got anything for everyone?
Oh man.
Give me shout out to anybody, or just, how you feeling right now? Just a couple words.
Right now, I am just really hungry. We eat some dinner. Shout out to my team at Credmark. We just kind of coalesced over the last few weeks, and it feels like a family now. And maybe that's self-serving, but that's what's on my mind. So yeah, shout out to those guys.
I got 2 words before we sign off. Hook 'em.
Okay.
Hook 'em.
That's big for you, Steven.
Got to get in the fam. Yep, there we go.
We're going to wrap it up by just saying thank you, Credmark team, for allowing us to speak with Momin today. I definitely appreciate the conversation we've had. He was able to break down so much stuff with us, but he was also able to dive into the sports aspect too. And we always appreciate a good conversation of this, especially when you can integrate Steven into the conversation of cryptocurrency too. That's a big thing for us. So with that, we're out. Thank you.
Peace.
Thanks, y'all.